What is up, everyone, and welcome to the Optimus Fantasy Football channel. We are here to give you the best plays for this Week 3 NFL DFS slate. I am joined by my co-host, the moneymaker, the one and only Mr. Mike Reedy. Mike, how are we doing this week heading towards Week 3 of NFL action?
Good, excited. We actually know some stuff now, right? It's a small sample size of 2 weeks, but it's something. Where the first week it's kind of like just go solid players that you know and hope for the best. Some of those solid players didn't deliver. We probably won't be talking about those past performers today, but we know what's going on a little bit more. We know what defenses defend well and don't defend well to some extent, right? We'll know even more after week 3. So I'm excited about it. This is when I start getting really good at my own cash and tournament plays because we know so much more. And some people don't pay attention to that stuff.
Well, it's true. And we talked about it in our week 1 show where this is a week where we just weren't going to know what was going on in week 1. We're taking a lot of stabs, guesses, things maybe we had seen or heard heading into the season out of camp. But now, like you said, we do have some actual data. Let's get into it with that data, Mike. And let's start with quarterbacks. Your first pick on this list I want to talk about is Dak Prescott up against the Chicago Bears. $5,900 on DraftKings, $7,300 on FanDuel. The Chicago defense hasn't been great. Dak Prescott just seems like a solid play this week here.
Well, he had a big game last week when we both said they'll pass a lot against the Giants, right? Because you can, and they did, right? So we had that 361 yards and 2 touchdowns. And then this Bears defense just got completely obliterated by Jared Goff last week in that with that 5 touchdown game. So I think we're going to see Dak pass the ball a lot more because again, against the Bears, guess what you can do? They kind of pass funnel. So we're going to see him funnel some passes out there. So I like him. I like CeeDee Lamb too, by the way. It should be a high scoring game, and I like that. That's
Yeah,
beautiful.
it really should be a high scoring game. And I like what we've seen out of Dak. I was a little bit lower on him than I think a lot of people were heading into this season, but it appears the addition of George Pickens has helped. And Javonte Williams playing out of his mind, which is someone we'll talk about a little bit later here, is also really helping Dak. So I love this play. Now, your second quarterback on the other side of this matchup, Caleb Williams against his Cowboys defense. $5,600 on DraftKings, $7,100 on FanDuel, Mike. What is it about Caleb Williams heading into this matchup that you love?
Well, one thing I love is that the Dallas defense is horrible, and you can throw against them as well, right? Like Russell Wilson looked like the old Russell Wilson last week against them. Caleb's been really solid. He has 2 touchdowns in each of the first 2 games, so I think you can expect that from him. I think we should expect for him to be solid, although I don't expect him to be like some super rock star. Um, the knock on him was that he looks great the first couple of drives because that's a scripted plays, and then when they have to adjust during the game, Caleb seems to fall off. It's a true knock. We saw it the first 2 weeks. It may continue, but expect him to have a very good first quarter, maybe first half, with some good drives, some deep balls to Roma Donze. I think he'll hit that mark of like 250 yards and 2 touchdowns again this week easily against Dallas.
Oh, I
So I
think he
like.
definitely should.
Cool.
This is a week with Caleb Williams where I feel like this is kind of one of those like build some confidence weeks against a defense that you can build some confidence for the second year quarterback. I love this play a lot, Mike. Now, the last one here, Drake Maye, the second year quarterback in New England, up against the Pittsburgh Steelers at home. $5,300 on DraftKings, $7,300 on FanDuel. The Patriots quarterback is the inexpensive option here. What do you like about Drake Maye this week?
He's the overall QB6 right now in like standard fantasy leagues, which is something people were probably surprised by. I'm not. I expect him to take a step forward, at least in production, if not in wins, right? He has 4 touchdowns on the season. He got 3 last week. They're playing the Steelers. The Steelers have given up multiple touchdowns in every game this season. It just sets up nice for Drake May to have another. We're talking 250 something yards and multiple touchdown game, and he should do that easily against the Steelers defense. It is not a steel curtain anymore.
No, it hasn't been a steel curtain in a few seasons, Mike. And this is a defense I think that we should be attacking in DFS. And as much as I wasn't that high on Drake May, he is playing a lot better than expected in this offense of nobodies almost, outside of Stephon Diggs, who hasn't done anything this season really at all. I
Mhm.
like this play this week against Pittsburgh. It hurts my heart that my defense is bad over there in Pittsburgh, but it is, and this is a good play this week. I'm going to get through mine here real quick. There are a couple obvious plays here. Baker Mayfield against the New York Jets. Mike, he has been so good this season, and he
I
has
love 'em.
so many weapons. $6,600 on DraftKings, $7,900 on FanDuel. Against this Jet defense, it just feels like a smash play.
It is. They made Aaron
Yeah.
Rodgers look like a stud again. I really thought he was gonna produce. That offense was clicking on all cylinders, and, you know, I
Yeah.
think that's Baker's offense is always clicking on all cylinders, so it should be a great game for him.
Yeah, yeah. This team's looking really good. I'm a big fan of what Tampa Bay is doing right now. Michael Penix of the Atlanta Falcons up against the Carolina Panthers in Carolina this week. This is a play for me, Mike, where he's $5,600 on DraftKings, $6,800 on FanDuel. I don't love Michael Penix, but this is against the Carolina defense, and it's an option to pay down on a quarterback. Maybe you stack him with a guy like Drake London, and then you can spend up at some other positions this week.
I was gonna say, it is Carolina, and Carolina is a team we will pick on, right?
Yep.
So, yeah,
Yep.
I like
I'm not season long. I'm not a big believer in Michael Penix, but
I'm
this
not
week I am definitely. Now, my last one is Mac Jones, and this is with the
I
caveat
love
of Brock Purdy doesn't play. It's sounding more and more as we get closer to the weekend that Brock Purdy will not play. Mac Jones, $5,000 on DraftKings, $6,700 on FanDuel, and San Francisco's up against division rival Arizona. This isn't a good Cardinals defense. This isn't a good Cardinals team. I like Mac Jones at this price, at this position right now.
He had 3 touchdowns last week. He was great last year playing for the Jaguars. I think he played better than Trevor Lawrence did. Personally, I think he did. I like Mac Jones. I'm a Mac Jones guy. Um, I love this play. I have this play in lineups. I like that play.
I I said it last week. I'm going to say it again this week. If he's starting, he's playable in all formats of fantasy. 1 QB, 2 QB, I don't care because I swear this is a guy that Kyle Shanahan wanted until he got shamed into Trey Lance, and he's perfect for this system. He's just Brock Purdy light, Mike. I mean, that's really all he is. Same skill set. They're the same quarterback, in my
But
opinion.
I've been saying this since I've been a fantasy analyst. People underestimate how much play calling matters, fit matters, coaching matters, right? If a guy isn't in the right spot and the coach says, I have a system, he's looking for a guy for his system usually. Everybody's a system QB when you really want to look at it that way. Mac fits what they want to do as good as Brock does. It's beautiful for them. It's not that big of a change.
No, it's really not that big of a change. That's why I'm okay playing him. And I think at 5,000 on DraftKings, this is a really good value play. Another guy you could stack with someone like Ricky Pearsall, get that cheaper stack, and you can pay up other places. So I really like this as a play this week, and glad that we agree, Mike. Now let's move on to the running back position, Mike. I want to start with my first pick here, Jonathan Taylor against the Tennessee Titans in Tennessee this week. $7,200 on DraftKings. He's $8,500 on FanDuel. He's playing out of his mind. 160 yards against the Broncos on the ground last week. I really feel like Indy has realized that this is part of their recipe for success. A little bit of Daniel Jones, a whole lot of Jonathan Taylor. It's good for everybody. And against this Tennessee defense, I am smashing Jonathan Taylor. Even though he's a very high priced option this week, I think he's worth it.
Well, they're playing the Titans, right? And people don't realize you run a lot more on the Titans than you throw, and so many people will be like, "What do you mean?" It's not because the Titans are good and they stop the pass. It's because you don't have to pass, so you keep running the ball once you get up on them. That's just how it was last year, and that's pretty much what we're seeing this year too. Not a lot of passing against them, and Danny Jones is the perfect fit for that offense. Speaking about perfect fits, and man, I think that helps Jonathan Taylor a lot too. Like it just he's a stud and he's free.
Yeah, I would. He's someone I'm willing to. Again, I'm willing to pay up for him this week because I
Yeah.
think the results are going to be there. Especially if you're going after a quarterback like Mac Jones, you can afford Jonathan Taylor at 7,200.
Or Drake
My
May.
next or Drake May. Now, my next one, Mike, is Travis Etienne up against a tougher Houston defense. However, $5,900 on DraftKings, 7,000 on FanDuel. And I do believe until Bashal Tutin really gains the trust of this coaching staff and Liam Cohen, that this is Travis Etienne's job and they're going to run him into the ground. This is 15 to 20 carries for me in this matchup. I north of 100 yards and a touchdown. And for the price, I'm playing Travis Etienne all over the place this weekend.
You know, the one thing about Etienne that people miss, so many people concerned about, he's not that good. When he gets volume, he produces. I play him a lot in DFS. I didn't last year because it wasn't very good, but they were trying to mix in too many people. When he gets volume, he produces. He's like just he gets better with the more touches he gets for some reason, and it
Yep.
works.
It's not pretty. And this isn't someone I'm going to recommend all season, but this is a week where I really like Travis Etienne.
It doesn't have to
Yeah,
be. Yeah.
doesn't have to be pretty. The pretty part is when you win money. Now we're going to go to my last pick here, Mike. It is Jaylen Warren up against the New England Patriots defense. $5,500 on DraftKings, $6,200 on FanDuel. This comes from some coach and player speak this week where they were adamant that they needed to get him more work. Jaylen
I'm
Warren is the man,
I,
and they're
I,
going to get him more work.
the rookie's not getting the job done, right? And Warren deserves it. He was good last year. He's been good as a part-time running back. Let's see what he can do with some more touches. And when the whole coaching staff and team is saying the same thing, I like that too. It's a good play.
Yeah, Kenny Gain will factor in. I don't think he's relevant in any fashion. He'll take a little bit away from Jaylen Warren, but not a whole lot. Plus, we see Jaylen Warren active in the passing game. He's getting targets from Aaron Rodgers, and that's a huge deal in any PPR format. And I love the price. So I am playing Jaylen Warren this weekend against the New England Patriots. Mike, your first pick. I love this one, especially with Carson Wentz starting at quarterback for Minnesota this week. Jordan Mason against the Cincinnati Bengals, $5,400 on DraftKings, $5,800 on FanDuel, and not to mention Aaron Jones is headed to IR. So it's the Jordan Mason world in that backfield.
For at least 4 games, right? So he's not going to overwhelm you with some super flashy, wonderful plays either. It might not be pretty, but the Bengals have given up through 2 games the third most fantasy points to opposing teams' running backs. So they're not defending the run well. We knew that defense wasn't really good anyways, but they don't defend the run well at all. He's just gonna Jordan Mason's just gonna pound the ball through them. I mean, that's what he's gonna do. He's just gonna run right through them, keep running right through them, and it looks like he's gonna have a massive volume. So it for the price, this is a great play for somebody who's probably going to see 20 to 25 touches.
Well, when he's the standalone back, we saw what he did in San
Yeah.
Francisco last season, 153 carries for 789 yards. Plus, he had 14 targets. This is a guy who's going to be relevant in an offense with Carson Wentz starting, not a team he's super familiar with. You know there are going to be those struggles, and he's Carson Wentz. I could see a lot of check down work going to Jordan Mason, and I can see him being north of 20 carries this week, given the situation. Now, your next running back that we have got here, and I love this one, Ramondre Stevenson against Pittsburgh, $5,300 on DraftKings, $5,900 on FanDuel.
I don't know why the fantasy community hates Ramondre Stevenson. Whenever he's getting significant touches, he produces at a running back 2 type production level, right? Which is good. You should like that. The Steelers have given up over 100 yards to one running back in each of the first 2 games. So somebody has eclipsed 100 yards each time. Ramondre, he had 54 yards rushing last week, but he also had 5 receptions for 88 yards. He's getting 65% of the snaps. He's going to lead this backfield. He is. Trevion Henderson, who everybody loved in the preseason and loves because he's electric, he can't pass protect at all. So he's not going to get on the field until he proves he can do other things besides run with the football. In Ramondre, I heard somebody on the radio call him a plotter the other morning, and I wanted to call in and yell at them, but I didn't know the phone number. He's not a plotter. He's electric. I think a lot of people confuse. He's not on the field sometimes because he's been hurt the past couple of years. But when he's on the field, he produces running back 2 numbers every time. So you're going to get that. And again, the price, like if you didn't notice, I don't have any high price guys in my picks this week. I'm all like middle of the road and bottom of the barrel type stuff.
Oh, this is a great week for it, though. Well, and with
Yeah.
Ramondre too, like I think people forget that he does catch a lot of passes. Um, in 2022, he was targeted 88 times, and that was a Josh McDaniels
Yeah.
offense.
And he does stuff with the catches too. It's not like he just catches and goes down. I
Yeah.
mean, he's good.
No, he turned that into what was it here? Let me take a look. It was 421 yards on those catches.
Yeah.
That's good work out of a running back. And yeah, people are down on him for no reason. Play him this week. I love it.
We like
Now your last pick here, Alvin Kamara at the Seattle Seahawks, $6,300 on DraftKings, $8,800 on FanDuel. Mike, he is mostly their offense. This is a great play for me this week.
He is. It seems to be him, Juwan Johnson, and Chris Olave is getting some run there too, right? So there's only 3 branches in the whole skill position team. But it's gonna be a volume play. He had 27 touches last week, and in each of the first 2 games this season, the starting running back who also catches passes happened to be Christian McCaffrey and Jaylen Warren, who we already talked about. Both of those guys had over 70 yards receiving. So we know Kamara's involved, both running the ball and catching the ball. You're probably going to see another 70-yard game out of him this week, I would
Yeah.
assume, because it appears that's how you can attack this defense by passing the ball to the running back, because that's what everybody's having success against them doing. So Kamara's a perfect guy for a game like that. I think the volume's going to be very high on his touch count, and I mean he's 6,300 on DraftKings and 8,000 on FanDuel. Like it's a pay up on FanDuel, it's almost a pay up on DraftKings, but he's going to be worth it. I really think Kamara's going to be worth it this week. I think we should see a very big game.
I do too. The Saints offense is a little bit better than I think. We were all out on pretty much everybody in this offense. And Kamara's really taken a step up. Uh, Juwan Johnson, tight end 3 right now. So they become a more interesting play in DFS. And if this keeps up with Spencer Rattler, I mean, I feel like Juwan Johnson's a guy you want to plug in almost every week as long as his price isn't prohibitive to what you're trying to do.
He's my
Um,
most owned tight end in redraft leagues, and I'm playing him in DFS this weekend, Juwan
oh,
Johnson. We'll
tons.
talk
And
about it.
yeah, we'll talk plenty about him. Before we get on to that, Mike, let's get into some of these wide receivers. I want to start with your first wide receiver. We've already talked about him a little bit. CeeDee Lamb at the Chicago Bears, DraftKings 8,000, FanDuel 8,800. This is a good opportunity, in my opinion, to stack with Dak Prescott this week.
It is, and the over under on this game's I think 50.5 points, right? So Vegas thinks it's going to be a shootout. Highest over under on the slate. He has 24 targets, 16 receptions, 222 yards over the first 2 games. He still doesn't have a touchdown, but the volume is just massive. And
Yeah.
Dak, this is what people were hoping for, where they said that when in redraft, when they wanted to take him with the number 1 pick, and he is going to have that kind of volume that's going to make him like the overall wide receiver 1 for the season. He needs some touchdowns. He hasn't had one yet. So naturally, regression to the mean says he's probably due. This is a good week for it
Yep.
against the Bears. They've given up some deep touchdowns. He's pricey, but when you're paying down at these other places, the 8,000 on DraftKings, 8,800 on FanDuel, right? And the Bears have given up 5 touchdowns to wide receivers this season. So this is a week to pay up for CeeDee Lamb.
No, it is 100% a week to pay up. I think this is a smash play and stack him with Dak Prescott. I think that's a really solid move that could help you win at least some contests. Now, the next player here on the other side of this game, again, Romo Dunze up against the Dallas Cowboys, $5,300 on DraftKings, $6,400 on FanDuel for the wide receiver 1 in Chicago and the overall PPR wide receiver 4 right now in fantasy.
He's got 29% target share here. We didn't talk about CeeDee Lamb's target share, but it's obnoxiously high as well.
Yep.
He has 20 targets on the season, right? 15 receptions, 165 yards, and he has 3 touchdowns. And they're looking for him deep. And they've built some chemistry. Keenan Allen is gone, right? And that he was pretty much kind of stuck behind Allen and DJ Moore last year. He is definitely past Moore because he's seen more targets than DJ Moore is. I really like it. What I wrote about him was Romo Duns goes cowgirl on the Cowboys, and it's more fun than you can imagine. 5,300 on DraftKings, 6,400 on FanDuel. And kids, go ask your dad what that means.
Oh dear God. I love this play. Romo Dunze's been fantastic, Mike. He's got 20 targets, like you said, across the 2 games. But what really stands out to me is against a decent Detroit secondary, he had 128 yards and 2 touchdowns. What is he going to do against his Dallas secondary? I mean, the sky's the limit. This might be a week where Romo Dunze is the overall wide receiver one. The matchup just screams possibilities to me.
Last year going into the season, I wasn't high on Romo Dunze because he was a rookie, and Chicago fans were too high on him because he's so talented. I know, but sometimes it takes time. It took him a little bit of time. He's a stud. He's what
Mm-hmm.
everyone hoped he would be. I mean, I did too. I'm just a little more patient than some
Yeah.
people.
Well, we've been around this sun a few times, man. I think we had to learn it, but we got there. Now we're applying it to DFS to give you the best picks we can. Your last wide receiver, Deebo Samuel, up against the Las Vegas Raiders this weekend in the nation's capital. DraftKings 6,100, FanDuel 6,700. A guy I think a lot of us thought was on the back end of his career, was going to fade. Oh, is he not faded at all? This is a great play this week, Mike.
The the McLaren holdout probably helped him get more touches early, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that may change as the season goes on. But right now, Debo's the guy in this offense. Hopefully, with his quarterback out this week, it doesn't hurt him too much. But he's seen 18 targets through the first 2 games. That's a 25% target share. He, he 3 different wide receivers have exceeded 13 fantasy points against the Raiders in the first 2 games. So odds are Debo's going to produce again. I'll take a garbage time touchdown like he had in one of those games too. Somebody complained about that I knew, and I was like, dude, who cares? It's fantasy. I don't root for the
Yeah.
Commanders. Give me more garbage time TDs. Give me two. But
Right. Well, the thing is, with a guy like Debo, that's exactly who you want your backup quarterback relying on. He's a reliable receiver who can get yards after the catch. You don't have to go downfield to get some of those chunk plays with Debo. You can do it with screens. You can do it with slants. You can do it with drag routes with a guy like Debo,
he'll run
right?
people over. Yeah, because he's a monster.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And for a guy like Marcus Mariota, that's perfect. This is not a week I'm interested in Terry McLaurin at all. I'd like to bench him for the most part in fantasy, even if I can. But Debo, and there's one other Washington player we'll talk about here a little bit later that I'm also interested in. But I love this Debo Samuel play. Mine are a little bit different here. I'm going to start with Nico Collins up against the Jacksonville Jaguars in Jacksonville. $7,300 on DraftKings, $7,800 on FanDuel. I like Nico this week because it's against Jacksonville, division rival. Houston has something to prove. People are concerned about this offense. It's a weak defense. And Nico Collins, I mean, week one was 5 fantasy points, 5 targets, 3 catches. Last week was better with the 9 targets, only converted that into 3 catches and a touchdown. This is a get right game for Nico Collins and CJ Stroud. This is where Houston can start to gain some momentum, feel a little bit better about this offense. I see Nico getting another like 9 to 12 targets, but I think he converts into more catches, more yards, and a couple of touchdowns this week.
And I think people are going to avoid him, by the way. I almost had him as one of my guys too. Um, if you watched any of either one of those games, it's not like he looks bad or anything, right? He's Nico Collins. He looks good. The connection doesn't seem to be there right now for some reason. I don't know, between him and Stroud. I think defenses are just keying on him because there's rookie wide receivers in him.
Mhm.
Um, I like this call too. I think that's a good call this week.
Well, and part of it for me too is that I think CJ Stroud has been struggling because their offensive line hasn't been playing well. Stroud isn't a guy who can handle pressure in the pocket. Jacksonville can't get pressure in the pocket. Their offensive line doesn't need to be stellar this week to keep CJ Stroud fairly safe. They're probably going to be ahead in this game. Nico probably gets work earlier on. Then they probably shift to the running game in the second half. But what he'll do in the first half is enough for me to want to roster him. And especially because he's not going to be chalk this week. Like you're saying, a lot of people are scared off of Nico. So
It
if he
def-
does have a blow up game, that's going to separate you in a lot of these lineups where people just simply don't have him. Another guy I think might separate you, though, Mike, T. Higgins of the Cincinnati Bengals at the Minnesota Vikings. $6,100 on DraftKings, $7,200 on FanDuel. This is another situation where I think people are going to be somewhat scared off because we've got Jake Browning now starting. So fun fact to unscare you off of T. Higgins. Here's the thing. He was more efficient than Jamar Chase when Jake Browning was the starter in 2023.
Okay. I hope
T.
so.
Higgins got a bump in production with Jake Browning in 2023. If he doesn't see that bump in production, I don't think his production changes. Jake Browning is more than capable of running this offense. He was a top 10 fantasy QB in 2023 when he filled in for Joe Burrow.
He had
So
one
I have
bad game in the fantasy playoffs, and I know
one
because
bad
I
game.
had him as a quarterback and I
Me
lost.
too. Oh, it
Um,
screwed me in King's Classic or in yeah, it was King's Classic. It screwed me real bad.
but
But
he's a gunslinger and he'll sling that
yep.
ball around. So this is probably a good play because other people are afraid of it too. I
Well, and
like
he's down.
play.
T. Higgins is down to 6,100 again, a little less expensive, but not as inexpensive as my last pick, DK Metcalf of the Pittsburgh Steelers up against New England. $5,700 on DraftKings, $6,800 on FanDuel. Regardless of how well Aaron Rodgers plays in this matchup, I don't care. DK Metcalf is the wide receiver one in Pittsburgh. We know what Aaron Rodgers does, whether he's playing well or not. He's going to pepper that guy, and he's going to pepper DK Metcalf. They might be a lot of short passes, not getting a ton of yardage, but he'll get touchdowns.
We want to see 7 or more targets for him this week. I have him as a moneymaker, by the way, as well. And I think we need to see the target volume increase a little. He's by far the best wide receiver on the team. I mean, Austin's all right, but he's just all right.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just I like DK Metcalf. I'm probably going to be
I like
hammering him most of the season just because of we know what Aaron Rodgers is at a quarterback position. We know who the players he's going to pepper.
He's on a lot of my redraft teams because, even if you don't like Aaron Rodgers, which I don't, DK Metcalf's the guy,
Yep.
right? So
Yep. Speaking of the guy, Mike, let's head into tight ends, and I want to talk about my first pick that is in peril this week. Tucker Kraft of the Green Bay Packers at the Cleveland Browns. Tucker Kraft isn't practicing today. They said he's still hopeful to play. If he plays, I'm going to fire him up. He's $4,700 on DraftKings, $6,500 on FanDuel. He's his own team's wide receiver one. If he's active, it's hard to not start him, and at a discount, no less.
without Reed, he really is, right?
Yep.
So I liked lose. I'm sorry, I don't like seeing a guy get hurt, but I liked seeing a branch on the passing tree go away so that there's more volume for everybody else. It's better
Yep.
for fantasy, especially when you have an offense and a quarterback that spreads the ball around. I really like Kraft, and I I had him as a big play this week. I stayed off him in my 3 because he was hurt and I just didn't wanna
Yep.
risk it.
Well, this is if he's active, he's somebody I'm going to fire up in lineups. If he's not, I mean, pivot to one of our other picks. But he's just a guy I really like this week. If he's active,
Oh, if he's active, I mentioned
yeah,
pre podcast recording, he's in one of my lineups, and the only way he comes out of it is if he's out. I'm
yep,
just leaving.
has to be out.
Yep,
He's the
has to be
overall
out.
tight end one right now through
Mhm.
2 weeks. So someone who's not the overall tight end one, but I feel like is a solid dart throw given there is no Chris Godwin this week. We know that for sure. And Emeka Egbuka, though he did practice today, could be limited on Sunday. Cade Otton against the New York Jets, 3,500 on DraftKings, $5,100 on FanDuel. And Mike, this is a guy that we hammered on last season, both
It,
on our
it,
waiver wire show and on
it,
this show.
as soon as they're down one of their key wide receivers, Otten just picks up all the slack
Yep,
every time. And I
every
mean,
time.
that's why we stayed on him. And it was funny, nobody was adding him in redraft because he was always available. But he was producing and until everybody was healthy again, and then he falls back into the shadows. But this guy always steps forward, man. You need him,
Yep.
there he is.
Well, he had a 91% snap share last week, 86% snap share in week one. He did see the 4 targets and 3 catches last week. And again, I mean, any week he could catch a touchdown. We know that Baker Mayfield trusts the guy.
Mhm.
And if these injuries affect, I mean, we're not going to see Jalen McMillan pick up a ton of volume. He'll pick up some. Fantasy relevancy is up in
Miller
the air if there's no
Miller's
Amika.
only good for 2 or 3 targets a game as well, right? So
Exactly.
it is they are who they are. Yeah.
Yep, it floats to Kate Otten in Tampa Bay. Now the last one, Jake Tonges against the Arizona Cardinals. This is just one of those. I feel like if you have an opportunity to pay up other places and you can pay down somewhere and pray for a touchdown from Tonges, it's a play I don't hate. It's risky, but if
If
it pays off, you win. And
if you
I
wanna
mean, really, he.
the stab in the dark here is one of those 2 Niners tight ends will probably score a touchdown. The
Yep.
backup scored it last week. They're both seeing, what, say 5-ish targets with Kittle out.
Mhm.
I like this call because of who they're playing. They're susceptible to the tight end. I think it's a good
Yep.
call. It's
Well,
worth a shot.
He's $2,900
Yeah.
on DraftKings. It's a nothing burger worth of a salary. It's worth it for me for a dart throw. Now, Mike, your first one. This isn't a dart throw. It's Brock Bowers against the Washington Commanders. 6,000 on DraftKings, $7,400 on FanDuel. He was a disappointment last week because he was limited in practice, but he looks 100% this week.
But but he had 103 yards, right?
Yeah.
He's had 8 targets in each week, and 8 targets for any tight end in each week is just a good thing, right? Volume is our friend. The Commanders, they're up. That's who Tucker Kraft totally destroyed, right? With 124 yards and a touchdown on 6
Yep.
receptions. So Brock Bowers, if you want to pay up at tight end, is well worth it. The volume will be there, and the production's probably going to follow against the Commanders.
Oh yeah, I'm 1000% on board with this play. I have no issue with it. Brock Bowers is a guy who you know what he's going to be every week as long as he's healthy. Now your next one, Kyle Pitts of the Atlanta Falcons in Carolina, $3,900 on DraftKings, $5,400 on FanDuel. Mike, there have been points this season where it does look like we're getting the Kyle Pitts we always wanted. I think this is a great play, especially in this matchup against Carolina this week.
I was gonna say Carolina doesn't defend the tight end well. And he has a 21% target share. And I know when Arthur Smith was there, I mixed it up with Adam Rank and a couple of other fantasy analysts over his target share. They would say things like he has a 21% target share, like I just did, but it was 4 targets. And I was like, dude, it's 4 targets. Who cares? It's more than that this year.
Yep.
And with it appears like London's a little dinged up right now, so he might be the leading target getter this week in against the Panthers, right? So it's a nice matchup.
Yep.
He's producing because they're actually throwing him the ball more than 3 times a game, and it's just a good play this
Yep.
week.
Well, he's wide receiver or sorry, tight end 11 right now. And
Yeah,
for me, this is a really solid stack. Drake London's banged up. Kyle Pitts could easily be the target leader on this team. You stack him with the cheap Michael Penix. It's a beautiful, beautiful world if you can pull that off. I really like this call, Mike. And then the last one you've got here before we get to defenses quickly. Juwan Johnson at the Seattle Seahawks, $3,900 on DraftKings, $5,700 on FanDuel. You can't go wrong with Juwan Johnson.
he's got 20 targets, 14 receptions, 125 yards, and a touchdown through 2 games. He has a 25% share of the Saints' targets. No one thought you'd be talking about Juwan Johnson this way. And it's probably because, I mean, they have 2 other tight ends that are hurt. So this guy's seen like 99% of the snaps as well.
Yep.
And he was hurt a lot last year. He wasn't bad when he played, by the way. He's a good tight end. He's not a an exceptional ball catching tight end, but with the volume he's getting, I mean, he's the overall tight end 3 right now in fantasy. I like him. I have him all over the place. I'm not afraid to plug him in. I'm playing him in DFS all over the place because of the volume this week and who they're playing. I like it a lot.
Yeah, the volume's undeniable. This is a guy I'm going to ride until the wheels fall off, and just let's hope they don't fall off this season because I'm starting to get heavily invested in him. I've made some moves, made some waiver wire claims, starting him all the time in DFS. You can't go wrong with it though, right now, anyway. All
Yeah.
right, guys, before we get out of here, we've got 3 defenses for you. Mike, let's start with the Falcons defense at the Carolina Panthers. They are $3,200 on DraftKings. this is just a case of hammering the Panthers, right?
Both defenses that played the Panthers this year have both scored double-digit fantasy points. So it comes to reason that the Falcons, who had 21 fantasy points last week, will probably break 10 fantasy points or more this week against Carolina Panthers, right? They're just not good. They find a way to turn the ball over every week a few times, and
Yep.
they don't score a lot of points. So for 3,200 on DraftKings and 3,800 on FanDuel, I like the Falcons a lot this week, like an awful lot.
I do too. And this might be one of those plays that is a little bit chalk because I think a lot of people are thinking
Yeah.
similarly, especially the real educated players, but that's okay. This is somewhere where I'm okay being chalk because you're not going to find a defense that's likely to outscore the Falcons in this matchup. I want those points along with everybody else. I can differentiate in other ways. But that said, the Colts at the Tennessee Titans, $3,300 on DraftKings, not a bad play.
That's a good play too, right? So the big thing here is the Titans give up the most sacks in the NFL, 5.5 sacks per game. And the Colts have 11 sacks on the season. So, the stars align. We should see 5 or 6 sacks, I would think, by the Colts this week against the Titans. That alone will probably put you over 10 points, right?
Yep.
And the Titans also aren't going to score a lot of points. So the Colts defense has actually been really good. And I don't think people realize it because a lot of the defenses haven't scored very many fantasy points this year. So people think they stink. But no, no, they're pretty good. They just haven't run up the score on anybody yet. This could be the week the
Yet.
Colts runs it up.
I think this could be the week. The thing is that Cam Ward's been fine, but you can see defense is rattling him. Now, our last pick here is the Bengals at the Minnesota Vikings with Carson Wentz at the helm in Minnesota. For me, this is a fantastic play. $2,400 on DraftKings as well, so you can pay way down.
There's one fear here. So right now, the Vikings give up the most fantasy points to opposing teams' defenses. They've given up the most. JJ McCarthy's not playing. So if Carson Wentz protects the ball better, it'll be disappointing. But they're priced so cheap. Like, you
Yeah.
really want to go low? The odds are the Bengals, who are not a good defense, is going to get they'll get a couple of sacks, an interception, and maybe a fumble recovery or something because the Vikings have been very sloppy through 2 games.
Yep. Yeah, they've been very sloppy.
Very sloppy.
Somebody on this show's not surprised one bit with the sloppiness. And I think it does get worse this week with Carson Wentz. Again, he's a serviceable quarterback, but he's going to make mistakes. It's why he's not a starter anywhere else in this league after going, was it 13-3 in his rookie season before he got hurt, ceding the Super Bowl to Nick Foles, of course. We all remember. How could you forget? But that's who Carson Wentz is. And yeah, he'll be fine for Justin Jefferson. He'll be fine for maybe Adam Thielen. I think probably sees a little bit of bump this week. But he's going to throw a couple of picks. He's going to make a dumb decision and fumble in the pocket.
And the Bengals defense, as we said, they're not good, but they're still an NFL defense, right? So
Yep.
when you're as sloppy as the Vikings have been, they're going to score fantasy points on you. It's just how it is.
Yep. Exactly. All right, guys, that does us for us here on the Optimus Fantasy DFS show. It's been a pleasure giving you our best picks. Please make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel. We'll be back here every Friday with our picks throughout the season, even through the playoffs, because DFS doesn't stop when the regular season does, folks. Make sure you check out our site, optimusfantasy.com, plus tools.optimusfantasy.com. All the data that we used today came from right there. It's all the advanced stats you need to build winning lineups, guys. For Mike Reedy, I am Nate Polvogt. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see y'all next week.